Welcome to Truth Quest. If you are striving to balance earthly challenges with a heavenly perspective in areas like business, family, relationships, money, and personal growth, you have found your community. Welcome back to Truth Quest, where we're just digging into what God is showing us each week and what God is showing other people. So today I get the blessing of having my sister, Gwen Adams, is joining us, and you're with Love Alaska and Priceless. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is it?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. It's a huge privilege. So Love Alaska was born out of the first organization was called Priceless, and then we found the need, and Priceless is just an organization that walks with victims of sex trafficking in the state of Alaska. And it became apparent after a while that we needed to expand and put an umbrella over that and have some other initiatives under that. So we added Love Alaska, and under the Love Alaska umbrella is where Priceless is, but also another organization called Chosen, and then also the training wing of all of that, which is called Engage. So it's
is that all? Goodness, that's a lot.
Kind of all hosted under Love Alaska. And really just the heart of it all is engage, coming alongside the community, the faith community especially, and walking with them as they engage in the lives of marginalized people in the state of Alaska. It has definitely expanded beyond Alaska, and we do a lot of work across the country now, but that's where it all started. And our main focus is definitely here in Alaska.
Are you going to go international? Just curious.
Depends on the country and what the food tastes like. So that's my answer.
Okay, so you what was the training called?
The training is called Engage, and
okay, can you tell me?
Engage training is, we started it as a way to raise up mentors because we believe that the best way to walk with marginalized people, AKA victims of sex trafficking, is to put people in their life. So we kind of consider ourselves a people brokering operation rather than a social services or resource brokering organization. Right. So we feel like everybody, but especially those who are in a place that are marginalized from society, out of the norms of regular life, the thing that they primarily need is community. And so the first thing we offer victims of trafficking when they come into our program or disenfranchised youth is mentorship. And so it's a team of two, and through that mentoring relationship, all of the services that they need, the coaching they need, counseling, all of that will come through that little taste of their first community. So when we first meet with somebody that we're looking to see if our program's a fit for them, the first thing they get is this team of two mentors and a case manager. So now there's this little community of 4 people that they can navigate the thousands of steps that will be necessary in order to move towards a new life.
I can't even imagine the pressure and the intense, it must feel like a mountain, like they have to climb a mountain to get from where they are to where society thinks they need to be, right?
Yes, and there's a phrase in our organization that we use all the time that's redefine success, because that mountain can only be climbed one step at a time. And so we follow a practice called wraparound client-directed services. And what that basically means is that we sit and listen to her heart, and whatever goals she has or what the step that she wants to take, we come alongside her in that step. So it can be really frustrating because someone can come into the program and they do not have housing for that very night, but that's not a priority to them. Wow. So we listen to what their needs are, and that's where we step in. You know, I have one kind of funny story with one of our clients, but she came into the program and was rescued by state troopers that very morning, had a crazy flight to get down to Anchorage from where she was being trafficked. I picked her up from the airport. She hadn't had anything to eat, got her a meal really quick, and then we just needed to sit down. I needed to get enough information from her that we could start building a plan for next steps, because this was very much a crisis moment.
Right.
And she was very much in crisis, and she just wasn't listening to me at all. We couldn't get anywhere. And I finally said, "What is it you need right now?" And she said, I broke a fingernail this morning and this is all I can think about. So I said, okay, let's go down and get a manicure. So that's where we started. And it wasn't until we could take that step with her that she was willing to take the next step and talk about what she needed for that night and so forth. So that's kind of a simple story, but we listen to them and we take, once they're able to fulfill that first need, then they're able to maybe even see or comprehend the next need.
Right.
We had another 17-year-old girl that came into the program and just asked, before this all happened to you, like, tell me something you dream about, something you really long for. And she said, I long to sleep behind a deadbolt. I said, that's going to happen tonight. We're going to make sure that's the first thing we do is you get to start tonight sleeping behind a deadbolt. So we take it. And then the next morning she was able to think about other things, and she's gone on to graduate from high school. She's now a nurse. She's eventually got married, a very, very beautiful life. But it started with that was her dream, a deadbolt.
Do they come to you? Do you go find them? How does that
in the early days of Priceless, probably 80% of our clients were referred into us through law enforcement.
Okay.
Nowadays, it's all over the map. We partner with a lot of other social service organizations, so they refer them in. Clients refer other clients in. We have a 24-hour message line, so sometimes people just call out of the blue. I heard about you guys. We've had doctors, nurses, first responders refer people in. So just a variety of places.
So you're going to where they are in their pit to help them pull themselves out.
Yeah.
I love that you are being the church, because it's the church's responsibility to be social services, in my opinion. I mean, correct. You may not agree, but that's why I believe that the church is supposed to be social services. The church is supposed to provide the healing, not a government entity.
Right.
Not that they can't help, but the healing's not going to come from a check.
Well, and it's been a really tricky, fine line for us to navigate, because I felt very much I was part of a big church where that's where the dream of Priceless started within a women's ministry. And it became very obvious, as much as we were working with law enforcement, that we needed to not be inside of a church to operate this. So we did form our own 501c3. That's where Priceless was born, and begin to operate out of that. But, I believe that the church isn't just a good addition in the fight. I feel like it's the only hope.
Amen.
But also there's this thing called separation of church and state, and we don't want to have this leading edge of preaching. And so when we started, I knew nothing. I don't have a background of being trafficked. I knew nothing about trafficking. And we had a group of like maybe 30 leaders, and we just said, let's just pray about where an impact we could have in our city. And this issue of trafficking kept coming up over and over. I ended up having 2 trafficking victims in our ministry. And so it's just like, is this an area that we're supposed to look into? And then I got invited by then Governor Sean Parnell to be on his task force to kind of just lift up the hood, travel around the state of Alaska to several villages, and just ask those questions to see, is trafficking happening in Alaska? How is it different from the rest of the country, and what does it look like? Because I think most people's perception back at that time, including mine, was trafficking happens, but it's kind of another thing in other countries.
Third world countries.
Yeah, Cambodia, Thailand, you see it there, but do we really see it here? And so that was probably, being on that task force was probably the darkest 9 months of my life. Realizing not only is it happening on Alaskan soil, but it's happening at just a breakneck pace. And so the crime is so outpacing our law enforcement's ability to even track it. And so it's something that's not being addressed anywhere. We're the first, I still believe, the only social service organization in the States that's singular focus is trafficking. And so it just wasn't something that was really being looked at. And so we decided to step in there. And so for the first year, we decided, well, let's just do this right. Let's start the right way. We're just going to pray into this. Like, God, we know nothing. You have to show us. So we started, I had a very large, thriving women's ministry at the time. And so we thought, let's just start with telling our women that we just want you all to show up, come, and we're going to pray about this issue. And I'm normal, used to gatherings of 800-900 women. And so we invited all of them to come to this night of prayer. And we're going to pray into anti-trafficking. So we set up stations all over the church, in the lobby, the auditorium, classrooms, where you could stop at each station and pray about different aspects of this crime. And so we were ready, and 7 people showed up. And so I thought, okay. I'm so discouraged. I thought, wow, I don't even like women anymore. They don't want to pray. Did I not hear God right? I was just really discouraged. And it just felt like God said, just go to them with the prayer. So we moved that prayer effort to a weekly text on Wednesdays. And we just asked people, stop what you're doing on Wednesdays from noon to 12:15 and pray into this issue. And we sent, I think we were on the little app that we bought, we're allowed 30 characters. So we directed prayer each week around those 30 characters. And within weeks, we had hundreds of people. And then we were hearing, the BP boardroom donated their time on Wednesday. And daycares were stopping. And the businesses all over town were stopping and praying into this issue.
That's
and
beautiful.
About 9 months after that happened, I got a call from the state troopers, and he said, I want to meet with you for coffee. So I went and met with him, and he said that they were just getting ready to pull the biggest anti-trafficking bust in Alaska's history. Well, they believed it was the biggest bust at the time in the nation, up here in Alaska. And he said, our tracking devices got compromised. We're going to have to pull the bust early, and we're not ready. And we believe there could be up to 75 victims attached to this ring. Are you and your organization called Priceless, are you ready to do direct client services? And I said yes. I knew the answer should have been no. And I knew that there were going to be
but God was ready.
a bunch of ladies back in the office that were going to be like, what are you doing to us, Gwen? We don't know what we're doing. We're just reading books at this point. And so I kind of caught my words, and I said, all right, listen, Dave, I just need to be straight with you. I'm a woman's pastor at a church. I have about 50 church ladies. And we've just been reading books and praying about this. And he told me, he goes, well, we've been tracking this crime for 9 months, this particular ring for 9 months. And then when dawned on me, from the very month that they started tracking this was the month that we started that text. And so I was like, okay, God's up to something here. So I told him, he goes, it's like the sun and the moon and the stars lined up for us to be able to have the information we have. I don't think it was the sun, moon, and stars. I think it was a bunch of people that are praying against this issue right now.
That would be the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, there you go. All those stars. Anyway, so I said, I just have to level with you. You work for the state of Alaska. I work for a church. This isn't going to probably drive, but if you're okay with 50 crazy church ladies stepping into this, I'm going to say yes. That's all I got.
Right.
And he kind of rolled his eyes and he says, bring on the crazy church ladies. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And so we were called for probably the next 10 years. The state troopers referred to us as the crazy
church ladies.
So actually, I ended up writing a book about that journey called Crazy Church Ladies. But,
that is
crazy
so
church
cool.
ladies, man, they got it done.
All right. So we'll be looking that book up. We'll make sure that there's a link to that at the bottom of this because I want to read it. So I'm going to do a little sidetrack. Sometimes people are well-intentioned. But I have, they can actually use words or even actions that I've heard that actually are detrimental.
Yeah.
It's not helpful. Have you seen instances of that during this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've done that. I want people to learn from our mistakes because you don't have to repeat all the crazy stuff we did. We learned our lessons the hard way, then hopefully others won't have to.
Right.
But, the thing is, anytime we step into the life of somebody who's been marginalized, I think we really have that strong urge to be fixers, which is the worst thing you could possibly do.
Right.
Because how would you feel if everybody that was stepping into your life was a part of fixing you as a problem?
Right. Just feel more broken.
Yeah. And so I think when we show up as well-intentioned as we can be, even things like giving cast-off clothing, if you stop and think about the message that comes with those clothes, it's like, here's icky clothes that I no longer want in my wardrobe, but they're good enough for you. And the message that sends. And so, yes, we have learned over the time that we can cause a lot of harm by being well-intentioned. So the training that we do, a lot of it is focused around what does it look like to come alongside somebody and not step in as a fixer or a rescuer.
Yeah, I remember reading a book one time, I think it was on Che Ministries, When Helping Hurts.
Yes.
And
Great book.
Yeah, it was. And that was an eye-opener for me because I was guilty. Just full disclosure. Yep, did that. And it opened my eyes to how you can mean well, and that's not helpful.
Yeah. You think about it, for somebody who's been in a situation where they're owned, and they haven't been able to make decisions. They've been used in the worst way. They have faced a prolonged, you think about how horrific a rape is. Now imagining that happened for 10 times a day for an average of 7 years.
Oh,
it's beyond imaginable. And then all of a sudden, this person has these two crazy church ladies in her life. And, they're dressed like church ladies. They talk like church ladies. They carry church lady purses. I mean, the whole thing.
Right.
So there's an automatic inherent power imbalance that is present. And to move forward, like that, all that does is create a big chasm of trust. Like there's no way to build trust when it's so imbalanced like that. So we work really hard to tear down those power imbalances.
It's hard. It's hard to, because if you are a crazy church lady, to dial that back.
Yeah.
Right? And to not make it about you, but to always focus on the other person and how do we just love?
And it requires that we step in with trust of them if we want them to trust us. And they're not trustworthy a lot of times. But I have to be able. I have to be able to trust them with my story too, or I'm not going to get their story. So I have to show up with my heart. I have to.
Right.
I have to bring part of my life into it too. No, I don't just get to show up as I'm a good person here to help you in your struggles. It's like I'm a real person with real struggles, and what qualifies me to step into your life is I have real struggles, and Jesus met me there.
Yeah.
And that's what I bring is my need.
I love that. So be vulnerable.
Yeah.
In order to allow them to be vulnerable.
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome. All right. So how do people get involved?
You can get involved by going to the website. We don't even allow anyone to come in our organization to lick stamps without going through Engage training. So I was going to say that right up front. That's just, there's a basic level of training, and obviously it comes with a background check and all that too.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, our greatest need is just volunteers around mentoring. So Engage training is a place to start. And as we're opening a coffee shop in Anchorage that's going to give our clients a better drop-in place, but also just kind of be a bridge into the community. And so there'll be a lot of volunteer opportunities around that. We'll still require Engage training, but so there'll be a lot of different kinds of volunteer opportunities coming up. So anyway, through the website.
Okay, so they can go there and click on the Engaged training?
Yeah, on the website you can, I think there's a link to the coffee shop. There's a link to Engage training on there, either from the Love Alaska site or the Priceless site, and we'll give you all those details.
Right. Okay. We'll make sure we have all those and that we attach them as well. So I know that there's financial needs. I mean, you had to build that coffee house.
We're not done paying for that coffee house yet. There's always financial needs. I mean, God's got a lot of money for this project. It just happens to be in other people's pockets right now. So we're hoping that comes together soon. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. We will put a link also on here for those who may want to partner. Yeah. We want to allow them that opportunity. And I encourage everyone to pray about this.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to just be praying over it? Because everybody should be praying over this.
You can join the prayer text.
Oh, that would be cool. Okay, I want to join that. Just on Wednesdays, right?
Yep. Comes once a week.
It's still, after all this time.
we'll never stop that. That's how we started. I feel like the whole thing will fall apart if we quit praying. So
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Is that, can you do that from the website as well?
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
It's called the Revolt prayer text.
The Revolt prayer text. I love it. Let's go make a revolution. So we will go ahead and make sure that you have access to all of these things, but please be praying. Pray over these people that need you to stand in the gap. And pray about whether or not you should be financially partnering or if you should be physically partnering, because all of these things are in need. And we have one job, people. It's to go out and make disciples. And there's a whole bunch of people that really need Jesus so bad, and you may be their only opportunity. So those of you who do business with Successfully Yours business development, mine and Jamie's company, you need to know, and I hope you're proud of the fact that we do tithe out of that, out of every dollar. A tithe from there goes to Priceless because we believe in this, and we know
appreciated.
that. Oh,
I mean,
it's a privilege. It is a privilege.
I mean, we say, obviously, we trust God with the financial side of things, but I think the thing that's been so great about that is those financial gifts do come with partnership. And I'll tell you what, those gifts mean something to me I get emotional because it just means I'm not alone in the fight.
Yeah.
This has been a really lonely fight.
Well,
It can be devastatingly lonely. And our team, that's one of the practical ways that we feel like, oh, you know what, we're not alone. Yeah.
you're not alone, sister. You're not alone. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this journey and for this journey for truth. And sometimes the truth is hard. Sometimes it's ugly, and it means that you're going to get your hands dirty. But I appreciate you all being here. We are going to have Gwen with us again. We got some other talking to do just about the church. So have a fantastic week, and remember, just sprinkle a little bit of grace around you, even if that's all you've got. As we conclude this episode of Truth Quest, we invite you to be a part of the conversation. Send in your questions, thoughts, and reflections. Don't forget, like, follow, and subscribe to stay updated on our journey together. Until next time, may you continue to seek truth with courage, and remember to sprinkle a little grace, even if that's all you've got.